tell you some things that you probably never heard of before. So please, John, let us have it.
Firstly, I'm a very patriotic Australian. I live in the greatest country in the world, with the greatest people in the world, with the greatest achievements in the world. And we've had the greatest mob of bastards taken away from us. Now, I'll tell you what we've signed up for with the United Nations.
United Nations. You haven't.
You've heard how Malcolm spoke about the Rothschilds and the corruption and the banks.
Yes.
This is all about money in the banks driven by the United Nations. Now, cop this one. Article 44 of the Lima Declaration, that Australia seeks to establish a reformed international monetary system to meet the specific needs of all the rest of the world. And we've transferred jobs everywhere. I lived near Mascot Airport when I was growing up, and there was thousands of jobs there. We had the greatest sportsman and the greatest achievement ever in the world that can never be equal. Sir Jack Brabham took the world on with the automotive industries, Ferrari, everyone else, and won the world record.
Twice, 3 times.
Now you talk about the United Nations and the war and Rothschilds. Get that book, Wall Street, The Rise of Hitler, and you'll see how they help finance him. And this carbon tax is driven by the United Nations. Do any of you know how many charters we've signed with the United Nations? I'll just show you. 7,000 of them. And that is to the peril of this country. We've got 75 of the 77 minerals the world requires in abundance. We can make anything here. We're the greatest farmers in the world. We can produce food 365 days of the year. No other country can do it. We can grow rice, wheat, everything, somewhere in this country, every day of the week. And what are they going to do to us? They're going to give us the pineapple treatment. That's why everyone's walking around like this.
That's right.
And when you go to blow your nose, some blood just got their head in your skyrocket.
That's right, yeah.
So what we've got to do is empower the public, empower the politicians, and we want to have what we want, not what the United Nations tell us, because I'll show you something. I'll show you something. And I'm going to read out the Banker's Magazine of 1924, and that'll make you cough in your rompers. Now, we've all thought the Russians and the Cold War was a bad organisation. And they were the baddies and America were the goodies. And we've got the Cold War. Half of those rockets you saw were all wooden models.
That's right.
Now, this is the United Nations Charter. Under the Charter of the United Nations, any United Nations peace force would be under the command of the Under-Secretary General for Political and Security Council Affairs. This person has control of all United Nations military affairs, including all nuclear weapons we furnish to the United Nations. The following persons have held that post since 1946. Argadrev Shoglev, Russia. Konstantin Zinchenko, Russia. They're all Russians. So the facade the United Nations put up, where the goodies, had the baddies running the joint. So the inmates were definitely in charge of the asylum, and away you go again, and we signed another lot of declarations, with the Lima Declaration, the Free Trade Arrangement, this, that, and the Pussycat, and we're bugging. Cop this out of the Banker's Magazine of 1924, August of 25th, 1924. Capital must protect itself in every possible manner by combination and legislation. Cop the legislation she's just passed. Debts must be collected, bonds and mortgages foreclosed as rapidly as possible. When through the process of law the common people lose their homes, what's happening now, they'll become more docile and more easily governed through the strong arm of government, applied by the central power of wealth, under the control of leading financiers. Who's running the carbon tax? The truth is well known amongst our principal men, now engaged in forming an imperialism of capital to govern the world. What do you think's happening?
That's right.
By dividing the voters through the political party system, we can get them to expend their energies in fighting over questions of no real importance. And that's by discreet action we can secure for ourselves what has been so well planned and will be so successfully accomplished. What we've got to do is get manufacturing back in the joint, value add our raw materials, be the food bowl of the world, and tell them all to go and get stuffed. I could talk for 4.5 hours without taking a breath, but I'm sure you'd get too cold. You want to keep going? Well, I can tell you something.
Listen, you want John for another 5 minutes? Totally up to you. You want John for another 5 minutes? No.
This carbon tax and this brainwash they're giving you is about Agenda 21. And that's to take everything off us. Then when they run us right into the ground, they know what they're going to come up with? The golden chalice. We will become the nuclear waste dump of the world. In Billicolina, South Australia, I have the documents here. And that's what this is about. It's about us not being independent. It's about us being interdependent. We're the only country in the world that could put a barricade round the joint and we wouldn't starve. During the war, you can ask anyone that was in the war, they say, send your warships out to Australia, they'll make a gun out of a coat hanger.
That's right.
They're all out in Mascot, Botany, all round out that way, we had all manufacturing. We can still have it today. But you can't have it while the multinationals are paying no tax. Now, you've heard that spoken about today. Mr. Jim Keneally, the Assistant Commissioner of Tax, in October the 28th, 1996, stated multinationals have paid no tax or little tax since 1953. In 1953, we passed this Tax Act that if you're a multinational, international company, or an individual investing or manufacturing in this country, you need not pay tax here, but the tax in the country of your origin. And Jim Keneally stated in 2010 in the Canberra Times, they're escaping tax. So now what we're going to do is we're going to help the multinationals with this carbon tax and stick it right up everyone else. You've got to wake up. And there's none so blind that those that do not want to see, and none so deaf as those that do not want to hear. And Abraham Lincoln left us with a great axiom. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. And remember this. Your days are numbered with sovereignty, and the dates on your calendar are dated too.
That's right.
Well, John. My goodness. I think we need him in